Welcome to the Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Hany Rambod, and we have a new episode of Q&A for you. So many of you have been asking to go back into the Q&A format, so haven't done one in a while, and I am now ready to go. So again, thank you guys all on the DMs as well as on the Instagram that are giving me the questions. So that's where I pulled these from. Sometimes I pull them from YouTube. Sometimes I pull them from IG. These are all from IG. And the funniest thing is the first two people that jumped on and actually asked me questions was Hady and then Laura Lee, which is hilarious. But we'll go ahead and we'll start with Hady himself. And he says it obviously in Farsi because he can't speak English. And for those that, and I'm going to remind you, for those that don't know, it's hard for him to learn English because he can't hear himself. So he doesn't know how to enunciate. And when you're pronouncing the words, it's really hard when you can't hear yourself and your pitch on how to be able to actually pronounce words. So, and people say, well, how do you learn Farsi? Well, he learned Farsi way before he started losing his hearing. So it's a genetic disorder. I believe one other of his brothers has the same thing, but I do want to give you a little bit of that because some people ask me. But first question he has, or actually the first and only question, but he was the first one to ask a question, which is hilarious, which is Man chikar konam kachal nasham. So that's a Farsi, and the translation is, what do I got to do to not be bald? And if you're not looking at me on YouTube right now, I am definitely follicularly challenged. And for those that you do or have seen me and do watch the YouTube, then obviously you know that I have very little to no hair. Most of it has moved back to my shoulders and back, and it's migrated. But he's asking me, so I am basically going to answer this as that the thing that you got to do is, number one, pick better parents. So it's very, very genetic. So when you are getting mad at anybody, then it's, last I checked, I believe it was from your mother's father's side. So if your mother's father, you're going to bald, chances are you're going to be bald, and that's how it kind of goes. But, and obviously if you're using androgens or anything like that, then it can increase the speed of that and worsen the effects. But what can you do is turn around and do what most of everyone else did, Cbum, Hady, and everybody else, and go to Turkey and get a hair transplant. So many people are doing it. I think Ian also, I should drop his name. A lot of people have gone recently. And the funny thing is, I'm going to tell a little story about this, is that they've actually reached out to me and they said, there's nothing to transplant. So again, I'm like, I got some hair on my arms, on my back. If you want to try to witness protection plant it and move it to my head, then maybe, or if you can clone hair and that becomes a thing. But I don't mind because I don't have any crazy divots, knock on wood, in my head or anything like that makes me self-conscious about not having hair. But I do want to let you know also, there are another follow-up question that I did have was whether or not I believe in Propecia. I am not a firm believer in Propecia, and not because it doesn't work. I do feel like there are a lot of side effects with it. So erectile dysfunction is probably the main one that some people get. So again, be a bit careful with that. And I do feel like it can affect your contest prep. There's some people out there that don't think that. I personally had used it in the past, and did it help me hold on to some hair? Absolutely. But do I think that it can hinder gains? Or yes. And can it mess up a little bit of your mood / erectile dysfunction? 100%. It can do that. So everybody's going to be a bit different. You can go ahead and give it a try, but it's one of those things that I don't really recommend. So one of the things that you can do is stick to something more topical like a minoxidil. So go ahead and give that a try. But on to the next question. Next question comes from Miss Olympia Bikini Champ herself, Laura Lee Chapados. A flavor you wish you have never done or done first. Okay. So I think a flavor that I wish I had never done when it came to all the products would have been probably the Ice Eject unflavored. I did an unflavored once because, again, I thought it was really good for prep and whatnot. And people would then try the vanilla. They would try chocolate. They tried strawberry. They did not like the unflavored. I thought there was going to be many more adopters, those purists out there that says, I don't want any flavor system. No way. There was very few and far in between. That was a one and done run. And I was a learning tool for me. So now, as you notice, I've got probably like 18 to 20 flavors now of Isoject that I've created because I tend to geek out on them. We put some in the system to be able to put out for commercialization. Then there's other ones that I have that are on standby. And so that's why you see all kinds of really cool flavors, and then some flavors go away and then they come back. Another good example of that was Blueberry Muffin, which just came back to the site and people are going nuts for it. And every time I bring something back and they're there for like a set period of time, what I do is I do a flavor update. So in the past, it was a bit more of that blueberry flavor in the past. Then we turned around, and on this one, it's much more of a balance between blueberry and muffin. So you kind of taste the edges of that muffin that's just cooked so well. And you can take those notes in when you're drinking it by itself. And what's great about it is also the fact that when I did the blueberry muffin, I thought that it was really good, especially with water. Like when I make all of these flavors, I really taste everything with water. Many other companies will take almond milk, they'll take some kind of like regular milk, and obviously that always makes it more delicious, gives it more calories, it gives it more texture. But if it's truly a good protein, I think it's going to taste good in water, just cold water, and making sure that you can drink that, and or then mix it up with oatmeal, cream of rice, anything else that you want to mix it with. Especially, I think oatmeal makes it next level. But Laura Lee's got some really, really good questions here. So, and that was the first part of her question. So again, never done would have been that one. And, or I'd done first, it would have been, I think, the blueberry muffin. I think I would have, if I wish I would have done that in the very get, it would have been a really, really good idea. But also there is something brand new coming, but I won't talk about that until probably the next podcast, because like I said, I'm always working about 3 to 6 months ahead on a lot of these projects. But she, especially going into prep, going for the Olympia, whether it's her, whether it's Hady, all of them, they really crave very savory flavors, especially when you're starting to get ready for the show, because you have to go without, right? So cheat meals are very few and far in between. And then when you do have a protein shake, you want something to be super delicious, something that's got great mouthfeel, and something that's obviously easily digestible. But again, if I had done the blueberry muffin, would have been one of them. I'm going to add another flavor to it. Also is the cookie crisp, I think is next level amazing, because you get those little cookie pieces in it. Yep. Does it ramp up the protein a little bit, or I should say the carbs a couple grams? Absolutely. But the cookie crisp is also because of the mouthfeel and having some of the inclusions. I think that makes it next level. So there's a lot of iterations of that out there from other brands. I wish if I could have done it first, I would have loved it, but obviously that flavor's been around for many, many years. But I really do like ours. Laura Lee, you're amazing. She's out there running around. She was at New York Pro, and she was posting some amazing content out there. So if you're not following her, shame on you. Follow her. And I shouldn't say don't follow Hady, but he's already got like 9.5 million followers. So he's doing all right. Next question. Is FSC7 for natural bodybuilding? If so, how often would you use it? Really good question from Luke. So Luke, the way you look at FSC7 is the fact that you want to be able to recover from those workouts. Usually when you're natural, you're going to have less recovery in general, but 1, maybe 2 times a week maximum. Especially if you're on top of your active recovery, you're really on top of your massage, your sleep, you're making sure that you're getting protein in every 2 to 3 hours, and you're really focused on the recovery component. So if you're doing that 1 to 2 times a week, now obviously in enhanced, everything changes. It's like taking from a stock car and you're doing a modified car and then wanting to be able to race and say, well, how many times can you go out there and be able to break that quarter mile by 8 seconds or whatever you want to think is super fast or is super amazing. And what you do is you can actually throw that in 3, I wouldn't recommend more than maybe 3 times a week, at maximum 4, but that would be, again, really, really at the next level, about 3 times. But 1, if you're natural, maybe up to 2, if you're really great at recovery, then 3 times, maximum 4 in a given week on an FST7 set. And I'm talking about the traditional FST7 set, where you're doing 7 sets, 30 seconds of rest. A lot of the modified new versions that I have on my app, you have 3 to 5 sets doing with short duration, rest duration, 30 to 45 seconds, or you're doing 3 to 5 sets and doing a superset where you're doing like a cable fly, then you're going into push-ups. And so some of that stuff I had taped just last week when we were doing that at the S2 event in St. Louis. So again, if you haven't seen that, it's on the Evogen channel. And I had a couple of young bucks out there. There was 3 male athletes, 2 I believe are 20 years old. One of them was 19 years old, and had a great time with those guys. They won the Evogen contest over at S2 in St. Louis, and we were able to go through an amazing workout together. And those guys went next level, and we were doing an FST7 set of chest workouts, chest and shoulder workout, and then we were supersetting the chest fly with push-ups, and those guys were going to absolute failure. So shout out to them, and shout out to Andy Frisella. He has a cameo in there, and but yeah, he was asking me if I was beating him up, and I was beating him up really good. So they did a great job. And it was always great to be able to hang out with Andy and Sal and all the guys over there in St. Louis. So it was awesome. So the new S2 facility was next level. That was awesome. So again, if you're interested in that and you want to see that workout, especially with those young bucks, they had a great workout and they pushed themselves just like if they were pros. So I got to give it up to them. So shout out to the guys in St. Louis. Shout out to the S2 team. You guys made it next level for us. Super hospitable, and can't wait to do the next Evogen S2 collab. That was awesome. So next question. All right, this guy, actually his name's Safe. So Safe said, my creatine powder is having small lumps in it. Is that okay to consume? So a lot of people ask regarding clumping, right? Especially like, let's just specifically talk about creatine. Number one, it shouldn't be doing that. If it is, it's gotten moisture in it. Definitely smell it. I tend to have my athletes throw away their creatine once it starts getting moisture inside the bottle. So either it doesn't have a desiccant bag in it, or it wasn't sealed properly, or maybe you've left it open for too long in a high humid environment. So then it can go sideways, and I would just get rid of it, because as we all know, creatine turns into creatinine when it hits moisture, especially after several hours. So when you have those days where on end where that moisture's been connected with the actual substance, the actual ingredient, the creatine monohydrate, what you're going to do is you sometimes can get some foul smell from it as well. And sometimes it even has that even before it clumps. And that means that ammonia smell, you're not getting good quality creatine. So make sure if your creatine does have that ammonia smell to it, and it's, it could be really, it almost smells almost rancid. It is. Do not use that stuff. It means that the stuff has not been manufactured properly. So you want an ingredient that's super clean. It should have no smell to it. And so make sure that you do not have that, especially if there's clumps as well. I would stay away from it. So be careful on that one. Also, I'm just going to throw in the situation with L-carnitine. L-carnitine is another one that just collects moisture. So after a while, the powder, it doesn't matter how good the quality is. If it's been open, and especially if you're in a high humid environment, it will clump. So again, if you're getting small little pieces, not a big deal on the L-carnitine. I would just throw those out and get back to the powder. But if it's just, it can actually turn into goo. Again, so you got to make sure that you use the products at a certain amount of time, usually within a month, maybe 2, and then keep it in a cool, dry place. Sometimes when you can't put it in a cool, dry place, keep it in the refrigerator. That's one of the reasons why I always keep refrigerated if possible, because when you put things in the refrigerator, it keeps things way more stable. And then also, companies don't have to actually put in so many different amounts of dehydrating agents to keep it from clumping. So again, it's a balancing act when we're building these and making these type of products. But if you are in Florida, you're anywhere humid, hot, humid, Middle East, wherever, make sure you take that, and then you want to keep it for long term, throw it in the fridge. It'll keep it much more stable, especially if you're in those hot environments. So good question. Cardio in the off season, how much? So Kev's asking that. Again, I've mentioned this before, but I really like about 4 days a week, non-leg days, 20 to 25 minutes normally. It doesn't have to be fasted. It could be either before, like when you wake up in the morning fasted, or you can do it after training. I don't believe in doing it before training. Normally that kind of wears you out quite a bit, but after training, when your glycogen levels are lower, jumping on there and being able to do a cool down with some cardio is the way to go. And again, don't beat yourself up, especially when it comes to doing leg day. You do not want to get your legs tired before you end up going in and doing heavy squats or leg presses and doing a bunch of cardio beforehand. You know, if you're doing cardio beforehand on that, warm up. If you want to get on the bike for 5 minutes, warm up, treadmill, 5 minutes, no problem. But you shouldn't be doing 25 minutes before, because I think you're going to really lower your performance. Next question, Coach Mars. Most underrated supplement right now for someone in prep? Coach Mars is asking the question. So honestly, I think the most underrated supplement right now is ashwagandha. And I'm saying that because I've been using it so much more as I've been developing more products with KSM 66 in it. It's become a huge, huge help, especially for relaxing in the evening. So whether I take it by itself and run 600 milligrams, you know, even the other day, I was kind of really jacked up on caffeine because I was trying out a bunch of new EVPs, and the EVP extremes, when you're starting to go out flavor after flavor, you get quite a bit of caffeine. And so what happened was I wanted something to kind of like mellow me out. So I ended up taking 1,200 milligrams and that 1,200 milligrams by itself. So again, not only does it help testosterone, but it helps you with lowering your cortisol, and it helps kind of with reduce anxiety and helps you relax. So one huge, huge component is the fact that KSM is known for the using the roots and not the stems or the leaves. And the quality of the ingredient of the ashwagandha is considered the gold standard. And that's why I've been using it for over 6 years in my test booster. But I've just really noticed that it also helped me personally, also with blood sugar actually. And I think part of that might not be directly reducing blood sugar, but helping me relax and getting better sleep helped me lower my blood sugar. So again, not only does it help you increase your testosterone, lower cortisol, but now I'm also feeling like the sleep quality was better. And again, I wear an Oura Ring at night. And so putting that on there and being able to track that has been tremendously helpful for me. And I can see all of the different things it's doing. There's also some thyroid studies now with it as well. So you're starting to see your elevated test levels, elevated free test levels, reduction in cortisol, being able to optimize thyroid, helping with sleep, all of these things, anxiety, all of these things, especially when you're doing a lot of caffeine like I was, because I was doing all that product testing, RTDs, as well as extreme, and I'm going, oh man, how am I going to sleep tonight? So I popped 2 of them. So clinical dose of 600 milligrams. The upper threshold, I believe, is around over 3 or 5 grams. I have to go look it up, but I believe is over 3 grams you can take and still be okay right around that 3 gram mark at the upper threshold. But I took 1,200. I took 2 capsules of pure KSM 66 just to see how it goes. And sometimes I've taken 2 scoops of the new Cell Chem because it has 600 milligrams in the new Cell Chem for recovery. But that night, I just wanted to see, is it going to help mellow me out to help sleep? And then the Oura Ring showed just longer periods in REM, better deep sleep, and I was able to still get like 8.5 hours of sleep. And normally I'm like a 5 to 6 hour sleeper. I really am. I'm a light sleeper, and especially when I've had a lot of caffeine earlier the day before. The other thing that I feel like it really helps me with is the fact that, again, this just might be something that's a little bit of that placebo effect, but I felt like not only did I get deeper sleep, but then when I woke up, I was just more refreshed. I didn't have that little melatonin hangover because, again, I sometimes take melatonin and I can always feel that hangover, so I got to be careful with that. But for those of you that have tried it, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below, what your experience is with KSM 66, ashwagandha, and definitely would love to hear it. Next question. 5 essential subs. Okay, transform with Brandon. All right, transform with Brandon. 5 essential subs. So number 1 is got to be creatine. Creatine is the number 1 sup out there right now. You're getting so many good clinical studies with all, not just in terms of strength and fullness and being able to have all of those type of performance things, but so much more when it comes to memory as a nootropic. So you're getting so many more different, I mean, I don't know how they didn't figure this out earlier because it's such a great product, but they're getting even more and more of these studies out there on creatine. So that's 1. Number 2, protein. I think protein powder, especially whey protein isolate, post-workout, super essential. Minimizes bloating versus other types of protein when you have the blended proteins. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why people really gravitate to it, because it helps with recovery. And I feel like doing some protein at night so you're less likely to snack works out really, really well. Or first thing in the morning to be able to augment so you don't have to do so many egg whites, get bloated off of all those egg whites. You can turn around and be able to kind of compromise and throw in some protein in your oatmeal so you can be able to get that going. But protein powder is amazing, especially the whey protein isolate. Third thing I would say is making sure that you're running a really good pre-workout. So again, whether it's stim-based or non-stim based, something that has a nitrate in it. So like RG nitrate is something that I'm very, very, very compelled to use in my products. So I use that for 3D as well as Extreme. Fourth thing is glycerol product. So EVPAQ, balancing out the glycerol with a sodium-based vitamin C using different pathways for nitric oxide. Instead of going just straight to nitrates, you can just turn that around and be able to reintroduce nitric oxide through S7, the betaine in there. So I use the EVPAQ on that pre-workout. And then I would say on the number 5, God, that's a hard one. Again, just maybe going back to the ashwagandha right now, but there's several different products that I like, but right now I'm kind of geeking out on the ashwagandha. So the KSM 66, because again, I'm using it in cell chem, I'm using it by itself. So that would be something that even if you just guys go out and buy it by itself, I think you guys would see a good reduction in the anxiety, stress, and then all the things I just talked about 10 minutes ago. There you go. Your brand Evogen, is it original in Iran? Yes. So again, Exer has that product. So if you're looking for Evogen in the Iranian area, then Exer does have the original Evogen. And I always tell people, when people are around the world and you're not sure if it's original or not, or if it's been counterfeited, because there are counterfeit Evogen products out there, take a photo of it, of the label, the back, the bottom, the top, and we can track it down and see if it's legit. So definitely, there's people that have done that, and we have found fake product before and counterfeit product. So if you are worried that it might be counterfeit, you can go ahead and send it over. Any question? What is the best, safe, and risk-free alternative to steroids? It's such a huge difference when it comes to taking testosterone versus taking a test booster, right? So you cannot turn around and compare the two. The closest thing you can do is say, hey, look, if you want to use I create Evo Boost, which again, the theme here, KSM 66, but it's also got several different other ingredients in there, and I won't get too deep into it, but it's going to help elevate you to maybe if you're low normal to mid like normal. It's not going to take you from a 300 to 1200, like, a shot test. A shot test, depending on the dosage, can take you up to 2000, 3000, right? And what needs to be really understood is that these, brands out there that are trying to make it look like this is going to be like night and day. It's not. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's not. What you're going to feel is you're going to feel more optimized, right? Especially if you're borderline. That's where you're going to feel the best results. You're going to be like, okay, I'm a little bit low, but your test went up maybe 100 points, but your free test went up substantially, and now you really feel a difference, right? And so it's one of those things. It's not going to feel like you went on a cycle. There's nothing out there that does that except for real, taking real steroids. And again, if you're young, stay away from it, guys. All you're going to have to do is just max yourself out naturally first, then go on. If you want in your mid-20s, you're 23, 24, depending on how good your genetics are, then you can decide to do something like that if you want to go down that road. But ultimately, try to go natural because it's going to end up being the healthiest alternative. So you can look great on the outside and also stay healthy on the inside. If you've got some crazy genetics and you decide, hey, look, I want to go ahead and try to go, dip your toe into that, by all means, just make sure you do it with a professional and make sure you get your blood work done first. So, good question. Can I react? Sergio is asking me, can you react in a YouTube video with the physique of Josema Beast? Yes, I've gotten a bunch of questions for that. So again, I will put him in the one of the next coming Rate Your Physiques. So that way, I think he definitely deserves that. He really had a battle between him and Terrence in the Pittsburgh show. So again, that was a great, great show. I'm glad I was able to not miss that one. And I think he really pushed him. But I do feel like Terrence came back at his best at the following show in New York. So, but Josema, great, great physique. I can definitely do a physique, Rate Your Physique on that one. But both of them amazing athletes, and Josema is doing a great job growing his physique. All right, lift day is every day. Hany and Cbum, come back. LOL, question mark, question mark, question mark. Come back to what? The buffet? Him and I were together in Pittsburgh. So again, a little reunion. We had Milkshake Maddie. We had, Cbum. We had the crew out there. And it was fun. It was fun getting to hang out a little bit, running around. And but yeah, he is rehabbing his shoulder. He's very thankful that he does not have to get ready for the Olympia right now because he's hurt and he's trying to get back to normal, doing a lot of legs and while he's rehabbing the upper body. But yeah, I asked him actually. I said, "Hey, you miss it?" And he's like, "Not really." I think he's just kind of enjoying the moment and then enjoying Bradley, his daughter, and Court, and just his family and his family time. But he is working his ass off out there too. He's out there, doing a lot of appearances and doing things of that nature. But yeah, I think that he's just glad that he doesn't have to prep right now with that injury. So a lot of years of wear and tear that I think caught up with him after the show. All right, guys, we got just a couple more left here. And Chris Pendry, your opinion on gynecomastia. I have never heard you mention it on your podcast. All right, Chris. So now we will talk about it. If you have itchy nipple syndrome, that's right, itchy nipple syndrome, INS, then you should definitely start taking anti-estrogens, especially if you're on cycle. Do not wait till your nipples start to really, really hurt. If you're getting any kind of sensitivity and you're running something, then you should definitely take something to help reduce that. Now, there's a couple different angles you can do, and depending on how intense the itch is, whether it's tamoxifen or if you end up using Arimidex, there's a couple different ways to go about it. But what you want to do is try to get to a point where you don't need to do that. So when you get your hormones so far out of balance, but let's just say, the dam is broken and you're just spilling estrogen. And now you are just you go up against your gym partner and your nipple just kind of like, ooh, it hurts. It's itchy. It's sore. That's bad, really bad. So what you got to do is you got to make sure you get ahead of it, right? So again, your dosages could be off, your ratios could be off of the compounds you're taking, but you do want to get ahead of that and do not allow it to start to get into a very thick, fibrous tissue, because then when it gets to that point, it becomes irreversible and you do need to cut it out. So it's very, very hard. Are there some times where it's not so fibrous and that the medications can help? Absolutely. But once it really starts to get thick and it becomes a pretty good amount, I've seen people like dollar coin size gyno, and it looks horrible, guys. Do not get yourselves to that point. You want to go ahead and clean that up. Make sure, and if you already have it and you can't get rid of it, go see a doc. Go see a doctor, get somebody who's known for doing that, and get it cut, because you're going to always have issues. It doesn't matter how lean you get, you're going to always have issues taking your shirt off. So go get a consult. Normally that's a plastic surgeon that does that, and you want one that is not going to accidentally give you breast implants. So they might end up, there might be a special on that, but by all means, guys. So again, that is the end of the Q&A. I appreciate you guys all. Make sure you go in and put in the comments. Let me know your questions for the next Q&A, and definitely appreciate all of you sharing, liking, subscribing, and adding to the community. So again, thank you guys so much. Hany Rambod, and that's the truth.